During the Second World War, batteries were, well, luxury items. Military radios, beacon lamps and field torches devoured them, and civilians on every front were urged to conserve. So, when you read local civil defense instructions, partisan field manuals, and early war improvisation guides, a fascinating pattern emerges. Ordinary people routinely made their own power sources using nothing more than rusty metal, vinegar, and scrap carbon. These improvised electrolytic lamps, as some documents called them, replaced dead batteries in blackout lanterns, resistance radios, and low-voltage signalling devices. This wasn't fringe prepper folklore. It was a real, documented technique used everywhere, from besieged Leningrad to rural Britain to island outposts across the Pacific. And when you test this setup today, the results are the same. A stable, low-level electrical output that can power LEDs, charge small capacitors, and keep a lamp running for weeks with nothing more than occasional vinegar top-ups. So today we're going into the history, the science, the practical build steps, and the wartime context behind the rust and vinegar power cell, one of the most underrated innovations of the Second World War domestic survival. So, how did rust become a wartime energy source when batteries just, well, disappeared? The chemistry, honestly, is pretty straightforward. Iron oxide and an acidic liquid come together to create a galvanic reaction. That's it, really. But during the Second World War, this simple reaction became a crucial resource, mainly because rust was everywhere, and vinegar could be made from spoiled fruit, grain mash, or even fermented roots. When you paired this setup with carbon rods salvaged from dead batteries or old radio tubes, the system functioned like a primitive but remarkably steady battery. A typical wartime version used a jar or tin can as the container, a carbon rod for the cathode, and a chunk of rusty iron for the anode. Vinegar acted as the electrolyte, though honestly just about anything mildly acidic, lemon juice, sour wine, even diluted pickling brine, would work in a pinch. The real beauty of the system was that it didn't require purity at all. Rusty nails, scrap rebar, broken stove grates, pretty much anything with oxidized iron worked. For people living in bombed cities or remote outposts, this meant power without supply lines. You know, European civilian defense manuals actually taught families how to create light during blackout conditions. In Britain, rationing made batteries really expensive. Manuals published for ARP wardens included instructions for chemical lamps using jam jars, vinegar, and, well, just scrap electrodes. These lamps weren't bright beams at all. They produced a steady glow when attached to tiny bulbs that were originally meant for toys or wireless indicator lights. In Finland and parts of the Eastern Front, families used similar setups to power makeshift nightlights in bunkers. They didn't need high output. What they needed was dependable output. The vinegar cells produced milliamps, but they produced them constantly. A series of jars, wired in sequence, provided just enough voltage for the smallest bulbs. These systems weren't romantic or dramatic. They were functional, reliable, and honestly life-saving. Why the rust and vinegar cell burns for weeks, while normal batteries fail in days? Military batteries of the era degraded rapidly in cold conditions. Vinegar cells didn't care. Their internal chemistry actually stabilized at low temperatures. Modern testing shows that a properly built rust cell can produce a steady 0.7 to 1 volt for weeks. Several wired-in series reach 3 to 4 volts, plenty for a small LED or low-draw lamp. And because LEDs require so little current compared to World War II bulbs, a modern adaptation runs dramatically longer than the original systems ever could. How resistance groups and isolated soldiers used rust power to run low-voltage signals. In occupied Norway, partisan groups used rust batteries to power microtransmitters and signal beacons that didn't require full radio voltage. The simplicity made them valuable. If patrols found the components, they looked like normal household junk: rusty metal, jars and kitchen vinegar. In the Pacific, soldiers stranded on islands used similar cells to charge capacitors for makeshift flash signaling. It wasn't enough to power radios continuously, but it created predictable pulses of light or current. The principle remained the same across theatres: oxide, acid, carbon and time. So, here's how to build the WWII rust and vinegar power cell the way it was actually done, step by step. This isn't modernized at all. These are the original, field-accurate steps you'll find in wartime documents. Step 1. Find your container: tin cans, glass jars, food tins. Really, size doesn't matter much, but depth helps. WWII guides recommended taller jars for more stable output. Step 2. Insert your anode, rusted iron. The rust isn't a defect, it's actually the fuel. Nail clusters, stove fragments, broken tools, anything oxidized works just fine. Step 3. Insert your cathode, carbon. During the war, people salvaged carbon rods from dead radio batteries or broken flashlight cells. Today, a carbon rod from an old zinc-carbon battery is perfect. Step 4. Pour vinegar until the electrodes are submerged. Do not let them touch, though. Internal shorting kills output instantly. Step 5. Let the cells settle. Wartime instructions noted that output grows stronger after several hours as the reaction stabilizes. Step 6. For more voltage, wire multiple cells in series. 3 to 5 jars gave enough voltage for a small lamp during the 1940s. For modern LEDs, 2 is often enough. With these steps, anyone can replicate a fully functional 1940s energy device. How to boost output using techniques directly documented in World War II engineering notes. You will find these in Soviet civil defense manuals and United States Army improvisation guides. How these wartime lessons apply directly to modern survival situations. If the power grid goes down, batteries won't last long, but rust, acid and carbon don't expire. They sit there until you need them. This is why serious survivalists still replicate the World War II cell today. It gives you off-grid light. It charges capacitors for intermittent radios. It powers LEDs for weeks on end. And it requires no special materials or manufacturing. It's old-world reliability built on chemistry that never stops working. If you value practical history that still works in the real world, subscribe, share this video, and help Strange History keep uncovering the forgotten wartime knowledge that modern technology quietly replaced, but never surpassed.